Okay, so with Poppy Playtime Chapter 5 coming out really soon, I wanted to talk about some things that's been sitting in my head for a while. And I know this isn't really my expertise, but I made like one gaming video a while back, so this counts. And I asked your permission and you said it's good. So, anyway, a lot of people are focused on, the next big monster, the prototype. What's he gonna do? The final boss. What is this battle gonna be like? Which is fair. That's kind of the whole point and fun of these games. But I think there's something bigger going on in the background that everybody is just kind of missing, or maybe that's just a me problem. I've been watching former chapters because I don't play these games. I'm too much of a pussy. I have been rewatching the Let's Plays from other creators and reading comments and going into the weeds of it because I just love this world and these characters and everything that goes on about it. And I keep circling back to the same damn point. I think Poppy herself is the main villain of the story. Wild concept. I know nobody has talked about this before. Poppy, to me, is the main villain of the story, but not in an obvious way. Not like, with the chase scenes and the boss fights and the, oh my god, how do you escape from Mommy Longlegs? More in a way that the story has shaped around her. Now, before you completely write me off as someone insane, let's start somewhere simple. Every chapter of Poppy Playtime centers around one main threat, except for chapter 4, but we don't get into that. Chapter 1 is with Huggy Wuggy. It's the introduction. We are being introduced to this nightmarish situation. Chapter 2 is Mommy Longlegs. And oh shit, how deep does this operation go? Chapter 3 is Catnap, and it's, oh lord, it is beyond our wildest imagination. The game doesn't hide that. Even before you meet them, you know who the danger is. Promos and hype aside, the fucking art on the homepage of the game you're about to play lets you know, run from this person particularly. That is a pattern. And I may not be good at a lot of things, but I'm good at pattern recognitions because when you take a step back and look at the title of the whole game, it's Poppy Playtime, not any of the other nightmare horror abominations. Hell, Huggy was the face of everything for the longest time. He was the biggest known branding and merchandise to the point that I see fucking knockoff bootleg versions of him here in fucking Nigeria, Africa. I have not once seen Poppy as a toy, but the game is not named Huggy Wuggy or even Playtime Co. Not anything else. It's just Poppy. And maybe at first that feels like branding, like she's just the face of the game. But the more you play, the harder it is to ignore how much space she takes up in the story without doing much on screen. She's always there, she always survives, and she always knows more than you do. When we first meet Poppy, the factory is already horrifying. There's no mystery about that. We've seen what this place does to people. We've seen what happens to the toys. And Poppy wakes up in the middle of all of that, completely fine and calm and is just able to just operate on a normal wavelength. Her meeting us has no shock or confusion or real emotional reaction. Now, you could say it's because of all that she's suffered that she's just dead inside, but she is able to feel excitement at the prospect of us. But she's almost numb to everything else going on, and that worries me. She just starts talking to you. She starts guiding you. And that's kind of her role throughout the games. She doesn't help you in a way that matters or in the way that other characters do. Hell, it's almost like a backhanded helping for the first 2 chapters. She doesn't jump in or protect you or struggle alongside you. She tells you where to go, what you need to do, and then she stays out of the way. The most in danger she's ever been was when Mommy kidnapped her, and when we dealt with the problem, she just goes, "Did you do it? Good. Okay, thanks would have been nice." You're the one opening doors. You're the one triggering traps. You're the one being chased. She never is, even though she's very much high priority. She stays out of the way. Now, again, in later chapters, especially 4, we find out that she's been in hiding, kinda, from the prototype. But for a girl that's in hiding, she was moving around a lot when we were interacting with her. And she likes to repeat the fact that nobody can do it but you. You're perfect. But bestie, Kissy Missy is right there. She can do way more than we can, apparently. It just always never sat right with me with how Poppy would make sure to strategically never place herself in imminent danger. And you can explain it away at first. Maybe she's small, maybe she can't fight, maybe she's fragile. All of that sounds reasonable until you notice how confident she is, how measured she is, how little she seems affected by anything that happens around her. She understands the factory. She understands the experiments. She understands the toys, the monsters, the people that are after you. But she only gives you information she feels is necessary at any given point so you don't run away. So you keep going deeper into whatever trap is most definitely waiting for you and just hope and pray you can get out of it. And she keeps sending you deeper. Chapter 4 is where this stopped feeling like a coincidence to me, because at the end of that chapter, she leaves you, just ups and dips. Homegirl showed her true color, the quickness with which she switches up on you from going to how dare you kill Doughy, this is all your fault, to okay, sorry, bye. Like, hello, girly pop, what are we doing here? You thought you were all in this together, but it was like, no, you were a pawn in her game. After everything you've done for this pint-sized little bitch. And that changes how the earlier moments feel in hindsight to me. Because once someone abandons you like that, you start replaying everything. Earlier interactions hit differently. And I've been feeling the looming threat of Poppy being the ultimate villain for the longest time. Because I'm like, why is she the name on the box? Because every chapter, the name of the chapter has been the villain. But then I just said, okay, calm down. It's her father's and her story, the prototype reuniting, whatever. But no, you start asking whether they were ever really on your side, whether Poppy, her being the main character, you know, not the main character, but the main protagonist, heroine of the story, the adversities and how you help her. You start questioning whether or not that even meant something, or whether you were just a useful tool, a useful idiot. Poppy never reacts to your pain. She never even apologizes for what you go through. She just expects it of you, like you owe it to her. She never questions whether sending you forward is the right thing to do. You have to do it because you're the only one who can. She treats you like a necessary part of a process, that she's not even fearful of losing, to the point that everyone calls you Poppy's Angel, a title that you did not bequeath on yourself. And when she talks about the other toys, the other monsters, it's always so icky to me. Like they're mistakes, like they're broken, like they're other, they're dangerous. Doughy had so much humanity that he wanted to save at least some of them. They're his family, but Poppy has just resigned all of you to die. She's so single-minded in her focus to take down the prototype, to shut down these operations, that she never even stops to think about anything. And I feel like that's the whole reason why chapter 4 ended the way it did. I blame her specifically. But she also never puts herself in the category as the other toys. They were always mistakes. They were always not as perfect as she is. And even though she has so much self-loathing, she will never put herself in the same box as them. She was tortured like them, but they don't deserve salvation like she does. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just this feeling of where she feels superior to them. Like she's not helping them for their sake or to stop this from happening in the future. She just wants this to stop because yes, let's end this suffering, but it's more so, I do not want these people's legacy to live on. She is doing it out of spite, not out of compassion. Even though she comes from the exact same place as these people, the same systems made her, I feel even in her mind, she went through way more struggle, torture, and pain because she had to be broken apart and put back together again just so other experiments could be made, just because of how perfect she is. And that perfection has gotten to her head. She survived it, and that's all that matters. Anyone else that came from her pain is just a rounding error to her. She was able to keep her humanity, her personality, everything intact. She doesn't have bloodlust or an animalistic urge to eat flesh. Again, she's perfect. She didn't change, but Huggy changed, Mommy changed, Catnap changed. All the toy experiments changed into what the prototype wanted. They were all stuck in what the factory turned them into, but Poppy didn't. She adapted, but so did Dowie, who she at first considered an ally, but she also abandoned him. He also searched for her for, I believe, years. He couldn't find her because she had deemed him irrelevant, no longer worthy of helping her on her cause. Lesser than. Poppy knows when to let others take risks on her behalf. And Dowie, being somebody that cared for the other toys and was willing to build community in this fucked up hell that they lived in, wasn't the soldier she needed. You were. She learned when to wait, when to hide, and when to move forward. And every chapter, you remove another threat, and she keeps moving forward towards her goals, no matter who falls down and dies in the process. Dowie dying may have made her be angry towards you for a moment because she's lashing out at losing an old friend, the compassion and humanity and perfection of her pushing through, but that did not stop her from turning tail and running, leaving Kissy Missy of all people behind. Like, I don't even blame her for leaving us. It is leaving Kissy that I kind of find especially egregious. She was literally your form of mobility. Girl took several tanks and hits for you. And Kissy still tries to save us because she knows without us, this whole thing is just dead in the water. So when I think of chapter 5, I genuinely cannot even be as hyped for the prototype as everyone else, even though yes, I am just excited. I think the question is whether this game is finally going to stop framing Poppy as the guiding light or this picture of perfection that was supposed to be the toys. This is what they're supposed to be. This is what the experiments were meant to be, and start framing her for what she actually is in the story, showing us her hand and how she has been the ultimate villain this whole time. Because this game has never really been about the monsters chasing you. It's about who controls the direction you're moving in, and Poppy has been doing that since the beginning. Quietly, calmly at first, presenting herself as docile without ever putting herself in danger. So if the story turns out she ends up at the center of it all, it would not really surprise me because I called it. It'll feel like the natural conclusion to something that's been building up inside my head in the background that I've been noticing this whole time. The villain was never the thing you were running from. It was the one tiny redhead walking ahead of you, deciding where you go next. Thank you for watching. Mwah. Bye.